Whistleblower who handed Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop to congressman and DailyMail.com reveals he had 450 gigabytes of deleted material, including 80,000 images and videos, and has fled to Switzerland fearing retaliation from White House. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this very, very important information out there. Also, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I put out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description as a link to my merch store. Um, I have Let's Go branded T-shirts. I will not comply T-shirts. It also has a link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here. All right, let's talk about this news. The source who distributed Hunter Biden's laptop to congressmen and media has fled the U.S. to Switzerland, saying he fears retaliation from the Biden administration. Jack Maxey gave DailyMail.com a copy of the hard drive from Hunter's abandoned laptop in spring of 2021. He also gave copies and material from it to the Washington Post, New York Times, and Senator Chuck Grassley in his role as ranking Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee. But he claims they all sat on it for months. I mean, that's it's crazy that they did all this. I guess they had to verify it and stuff like that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for right now. I mean, I guess they might have had to verify it and stuff. Maxey, a former co-host of ex-Donald Trump advisor Steve Bannon's podcast, The War Room, claims he and his colleagues have found 450 gigabytes of deleted material, including 80,000 images and videos and more than 120 archived emails. He said he intended to post them all online in a searchable database in the coming weeks. Now, whenever people have information like this, they should just go ahead and release it instead of announcing they're going to release it, because now you got a target on your back. And we all know, we all know what them people out there in Washington do when you're sitting on information like this. You might as well not say anything or just go ahead and release it. But Hunter abandoned his laptop at a Delaware computer store in 2019. The owner, John Mack Isaac, gave a copy to Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who passed it on to Maxey. Quote, I came here so that we could do a forensic examination of Hunter's laptop safely in a country that still respects human liberty and the ideals of liberal democratic principles, he told the DailyMail.com. Quote, I do not believe this would have been possible inside the United States. We had numerous attempts on us from trying to do things like this there. I don't know. I don't know what he mean by that. He said attempts on us from trying to do things like this there. I don't know what he really mean by that. But Maxey said that after contacting DailyMail.com about the laptop last year, uh, a black suburban SUV appeared outside of his house, and former U.S. intelligence officer friends he shared copies with and told him they received strange calls. Quote, I showed this to a friend of mine in desperation in February 2021 because nobody would listen to me. No news organization would take it. In fact, the very first major news organization to take it was the Daily Mail, he said. Very dear friend of mine, the sharp tip of the spear, were making welfare calls to me every day, basically to see if I was still alive. I know that had to be terrifying. I know I would have fled to Switzerland too. But Maxey claimed one former intelligence agency senior staffer told him soon after he received the hard drive in 2020, quote, if you don't release enough of this so that they know you can release all of it, I'm telling you, brother, you're a dead man. And that's what I was saying. That's what I'm saying about him admitting this thing now. But I'm sure he probably spread a lot of this stuff out for so if something happened to him, it would be released anyway. But still, why announce it? I would just go ahead and release it at like a surprise bomb or something, But Maxi took their advice in October 2020 and posted batches of emails and other files from the laptop on file sharing sites. But after about an hour, the links were taken down. I mean, this is how deep it runs. You couldn't even put it on a file sharing site. Maxey said he believes the U.S. government was hunting down files from the laptop posted online and flagged them to the companies. Quote, there were 5 drop boxes, 2 in the United States, 1 in New Zealand, 2 in the UK. All the same drop boxes in which they tell us child pornography is shared around the globe without any consequence because they can't look at it. That's crazy. That's crazy right there. Wow, I can't believe that. But they can find Biden information and wipe that clean. But they can't find this other stuff. That is scary to me. That further proves my theory that I've been saying for a long time that they are actually allowing this stuff, and that's why Facebook is this stuff is rampant on Facebook and other sites like that. And they claim that they can't do nothing. It's hard to do stuff about it, but obviously, if you can delete something like Hunter Biden stuff, you can delete that stuff. They're allowing it, so this further proves my theory, what I've been saying for years now. But back to this story. Quote, these are all Five Eye countries, English speaking countries in the intelligence sharing agreement, and they were all ripped down. Uh, so this means that our intelligence services, who still have not even acknowledged that they have Hunter Biden's laptop, were obviously digitally doing cache searches across the internet to find out if any of this stuff was being released. That should terrify every single decent person in the West. And that's what I'm saying. That is some spooky, spooky stuff. And I mean, this is just some spooky stuff. But Maxie said one reason he chose Switzerland as a hideout was because the only file sharing site that did not take down the laptop files was Swiss Transfer, a file sharing service based in the historically politically neutral country. The former Bannon podcast co-host said he was livid at the FBI, who he believes slow walked their investigation into Hunter and failed to enter the laptop they received from Mac Isaac into evidence for months. The only reason that they actually put it in evidence in the first place is because it became well known. The information was already out there, so they had to do something about it. But according to the New York Times, files from the laptops are now part of the evidence in Hunter Biden's federal prosecution for alleged tax fraud, money laundering, and illegal foreign lobbying. Among the files on the laptop are rafted emails and documents showing Hunter's dealings with Burisma, a Ukraine gas firm, and I've talked about Burisma before, but the firm that became the center of Trump's first impeachment in December 2019. The then president was accused of pushing Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to announce investigations into the Bidens and Burisma for alleged corruption. That it is straight up corruption. Isn't I don't want to. I mean, it's provable. It's provable corruption that went on there. But Maxi claims that that had the FBI come forward in 2020 with the email showing the details of Hunter's work with Burisma, Trump would have been vindicated. Quote, the FBI had this on the 9th of December 2019, he said. I suppose the first person betrayed was a sitting U.S. president in an impeachment hearing when the FBI had the exculpatory evidence in their hands to have that in instantly, and they did nothing. So yeah, so they had the information, could say, hey, here's evidence, here's some evidence to the truth to the allegations that Trump is making. Maybe there is some corruption going on here, and here's some proof here from the laptop. But the FBI was quiet. The second group of people to be betrayed were all the Democratic candidates in the spring primaries that year, he added. And I agree with that, even though I wouldn't have voted for any of them. He does make a point. I mean, We have these things in place for a reason, and instead of having a corrupt Biden in there, maybe the Democratic Party could have had someone else in there. But I mean, it's 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 crazy. Quote: The American people were utterly betrayed because I guarantee you that Joe Biden couldn't run for a dog catcher if the American people knew about the laptop. And it's been surveys done to ask people, hey, if you knew about this laptop prior to voting for Biden, would you have vote for him? I can't remember the percentage. I want to say like around 20%, 20% of the people, but I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was 20% said they wouldn't have voted for him, and if that 20% didn't vote for him, then Trump would be president right now. But in the emails from the hard drive, Hunter and his business partners make apparent references to Joe's involvement in a multi-million dollar deal with Chinese government linked oil giant CEFC. I mean, this is crazy stuff. In one infamous May 2017 email by Hunter partner James Giller, he suggests 10% of the equity of the deal will go to the big guy, a phrase consistently used throughout Hunter's communication to refer to his father. And I talked about that before. And other emails show that Joe and Hunter shared a bank account and paid each other bills. And that's the main thing right there that I think is going to get Joe Biden in trouble, because the same bank account he shared with his son is the same bank account Chinese government was putting money in, the same bank account Russian oligarchs was putting money in, the same bank account from Burisma and all of Ukraine was putting money in. He shared that account with Hunter Biden. And you can't, and so that right there is a conflict of interest to the highest degree. When he can't, so you can't even, he can't argue that. He can't argue against that. But Maxey also railed against the Senate Judiciary Committee and his GOP ranking member Chuck Grassley for failing to respond to his offer of the laptop last year. So I mean, Chuck Grassley, I don't understand none of that. What was going on there? Why didn't you look into that, Chuck? But quote, I have a lot of admiration for Chuck Grassley, or I did, Maxey said. I wrote a very reasoned, rational, respectful letter to Chuck Grassley and delivered him a copy of the laptop that arrived on the 8th of July. I have the signed receipts. I never heard a word back from the Senate Judiciary Committee even once. Weeks before the New York Post first published the material from the laptop in October 2020, Grassley co-wrote a report with Senator Ron Johnson publishing bank documents obtained by his committee, evidence of millions of dollars sent by the Chinese to Hunter and his uncle Joe, brother Jim Biden. Grassley pointed to more documents showing the flow of funds from CEFC to Hunter and Jim in a search to Congress this week. Maxey also gave a copy of the hard drive to the Washington Post in June 2021. The paper took 9 months to authenticate it, publishing its first story announcing the validity of the laptop this week. I mean, that's just crazy. It shouldn't have took 9 months to finally verify this stuff. But and my question is, why now are they admitting it though? I think they're throwing Joe Biden under the bus because they think he might maybe possibly run again in 2024, and they can't have that happen because he will get swept. Well, the paper hired experts using similar techniques to the top cyber forensics experts Daily Mail used to validate the laptop last spring. Maxey also gave hundreds of documents from the laptop to the New York Times, which finally admitted it was real about 2 weeks ago. He claimed that even Fox News, which has covered stories arising from the laptop extensively, declined to take a full copy of the hard drive from him, receiving only batches of certain documents. I don't get that. I don't know why they did that. But, quote, if you have an honest press who are willing to report the bad stories and uncover the corruption, then we as voters are more informed about who we should have in elected office. And that's the same point I've been making. And they failed us miserably, and Maxey said, and I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And in the prior months, both papers prominently reported claims the laptop was Russian disinformation. More than 50 top former intelligence officials wrote an open letter casting doubt on the laptop's provenance in October 2020, claiming it has all the classic earmarks of Russian information operation. And it's my I want to get I want to find I'm gonna go back and find that list of the former intelligence officials because I want to see their what they have to say about this whole situation. Now I'm curious, what excuse do they have now that this thing has been authenticated? But signatories included former CIA director John Brennan, and I remember him signing it. John Brennan, he's the usual suspect, and Leon Panetta, General Michael Hayden, and James Clapper, of course. And James Clapper is just basically covering his butt. But they essentially declared their best opinion. What does that even mean? My best opinion. You notice how they always use weasel words. That this is a fabrication that elves in the basement of the Kremlin, Maxey said. Still, to this day, I can't understand how Panetta, Clapper, Hayden, and Brennan declared it to be fabrication. I agree. It doesn't make any sense. And Maxey believes the cover up of Hunter Biden's laptop is a bipartisan problem and said he wants to see an entire new Congress to investigate it in open hearings. That would be great. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be great. And quote, we have an election coming up this fall, and my prayer is that every member of the United States House and Senate who are running for office this year get replaced, Republicans and Democrats. We need to take back our country, he said. And I totally agree. I hope every single one of them get replaced because they're horrible, horrible individuals. They're not doing anything to help this country. They're not doing anything to advance this country. They're just running the country into the ground. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time. Peace.